everybody. Welcome aboard here, Sports Talk Nation. Michael Cohen here with you. And boy, oh boy, the NFL offseason is off to a wild start. We are still just a couple of days away from really free agency getting started, as it will really start to heat up even more on Monday. And then, of course, the signing begins on Wednesday. I cannot wait for this. This is always an exciting time of the year. And, of course, as we always say, this is the silly season right now, because right now you're hearing rumors all over the place. And my word, the New York Giants, really both teams in New York for that matter, are really at the center of the storm, but especially the Giants, because what's going on right now with the rumors about Daniel Jones, speculation about Russell Wilson, speculation about Saquon Barkley. This is going to be a transformative offseason for this Giants football team, which really disappointed in a big way last season. Coming off the surprising playoff run that they had in 2022, a complete disaster in 2023, injuries galore, poor play, bad offensive line, controversy, of course, with regards to Brian Daboll and his chemistry with his coaching staff, particularly former defensive coordinator Wink Martindale. It was not a good season. Now, what are the Giants going to do with Daniel Jones? That seems to be the million-dollar question right now. Really, actually, I should say the $69 million question, because if, let's just say, for example, the most extreme thing here is the Giants release of Daniel Jones, they would be owed they would have to owe him $69 million in dead money. So obviously that's something that the Giants don't want to go down that road. But this was a quarterback that they signed at the end of the 2022 season, after that miracle playoff run, to a 4-year, $160 million contract. They made that commitment for Daniel Jones to be their franchise quarterback. And now here we are, a little less, about a year later, and here we are with the Giants now basically sending out missives. The rumors that they're done with him. The rumor that started by Rich Eisen just last week that they are done with Daniel Jones and they're ready to move on, considering possibly drafting a quarterback like a J.J. McCarthy. There's been a lot of heat about that over the last couple of days. Or potentially going after Russell Wilson. Now, Russell Wilson, who, of course, was just released by the Denver Broncos, and he had his own contract situation that was quite messy as well, signing that big $240 million contract with Denver a couple all seasons ago. And, of course, it did not work out. He and Sean Payton were like water and oil. They didn't work together at all. And it was just a matter of time before the Broncos just washed their hands of Russell Wilson and said goodbye. Now, what makes Russell Wilson attractive on the market isn't just the fact that he is a former Super Bowl winning quarterback. Has more to do with the fact that if you sign him, you're only paying the veteran minimum. For example, the Giants, if they sign him to the veteran minimum, it's only going to be about $1.5 million. So $1.21 million is what I saw on X. So, from that standpoint, yeah, you would be interested. A lot of teams would be interested. And yes, having that Super Bowl on resume, being one of the better quarterbacks of the past decade, certainly helps that as well. But at 35 years old, he is going to want to go to a situation where the team is going to be close to winning. I don't know if the Giants are in that situation right now. That's really my biggest question, as this offseason is really going to get kick-started soon. We know that he's looking at not only the Giants, who they had an exploratory meeting with. You can take that for what it is. Could be just kind of a, hey, how you doing? This is what we're going to look like. This is our blueprint, our goal for this year as far as the Giants are concerned. And that's maybe about it. But he's also looking at the Steelers, and potentially even the Raiders could get involved as well. Now, I did see this tweet that was interesting. This was from Justina Anderson, who is an NFL insider for CBS Sports and has also worked at Fox Sports 1 and ESPN. And she says here, quote, "Heard Russell Wilson had a great meeting in Pittsburgh so far. I was told he sat with the Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith for hours and that he looked happy. I was told that Wilson did his homework, reaching out to some players in advance. Mike Tomlin moves like a G in lasagna, so we'll see how much carryover there is after Russell Wilson retreats to his quarters. Now, that was on Friday night. We haven't heard too much more since that point. Now, the Steelers, you would have to think, would be a better fit for Russell Wilson because, again, Pittsburgh a little bit closer to winning right now than the Giants are. And why do I say that? Well, look, the Steelers won 10 games last year. They almost never have a losing season. In fact, never have a losing season with Mike Tomlin, so they have stability there. You got Najee Harris in the backfield, who had a very solid year, solid campaign last season. T.J. Watt is coming off of injury, but again, one of the top players on the defensive side of the ball. The Steelers are very good defensively. They have some issues in the offensive line that they need to fix, but their biggest need is quarterback. Obviously, they don't really believe too much in Kenny Pickett, who's still in his rookie contract. So going after Russell Wilson makes a ton of sense for them, and they could compete. They were good. They were a playoff team with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, and they won 10 games last season. Think about that. So you can go out there and try to add someone like a Russell Wilson. It makes perfect sense for them. For the Giants, I just have questions because their offensive line, one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL last year. They got a lot of work to do. Obviously, this is a big draft that's coming up on offensive linemen, players like a Joe Alt and Olu Fusana out of Penn State and Talise Fuaga out of Oregon State. Those are some of the big names that are out there as far as potential draft picks and players that the Giants could look to improve their offensive line if they wanted to go that route. Now, that's the tackle position. You also have, of course, the free agency market as well, and you have a number of players that are out there. So the Giants would have to, obviously, not just sign Russell Wilson to the minimum, but they would have to say, look, we're going to improve our offensive line as well. And then what's the deal with Saquon Barkley? And I think that's a big part of this. Now, if you're the Giants, and let me just pull up the running back market here. You look at that free agent market for running back, there are a lot of names out there. Obviously, in addition to Saquon Barkley, you would imagine the Giants would like to find a way to keep long-term. You have Derrick Henry out there. Now, granted, he's now over 30 years old and might be nearing the end of his career. Josh Jacobs is another name out there. Austin Eckler is a name that's out there. DeAndre Swift also out there, free agent. Names that are out there that the Giants could bring in potentially if they lose to Saquon Barkley. So even if they lose him, it's not the end of the world. But still, he's a big name that's out there. He's a big part of this team. And the rumor right now is the Eagles or the Texans are heavily involved. In fact, I saw the story yesterday about, a lot of people have been reporting it. Pat Leonard of the New York Daily News going out there tweeting saying that, quote unquote, my close friends are still Eagle fans, Saquon Barkley said as a rookie back in November 2018. They say they're Eagle fans, but they're Barkley fans as well. They'll wear a Saquon jersey, but they'll still be Eagle fans. He'll have options, but Saquon to Philadelphia would create a wild chapter in the NFC East, which it would. So there is apparently some mutual interest, and there's certainly a lot of curiosity there between the two sides. Multiple reports of mutual interest between Eagles and Barkley from Ryan Dunleavy and Howard Easkin. Both of those guys have reported that as well. And let's just be honest, that would really kick up that Giant-Eagle rivalry to another level. Those are two teams, two fan bases that hate each other enough already. But can you imagine if Barkley leaves the Giants for the Eagles? Wow, that would mean something else. Now, Eagles will be taking risk because I think DeAndre Swift obviously is a couple years younger. Had a great year last year. Granted, he showed his best stuff. He had his best career year last year with the Eagles. I don't know if they really want to move on to 100% sure if they're going to move on from him. They may want to bring him back, but if they do go out there and bring in a little more star power in Barkley to add to that offense and give him something that, again, a little more dimension out of that offense, a player who's run for 1,300 yards twice in his career, maybe they do that with Barkley, because remember the Eagles did collapse at the end of last season. So that would be an interesting marriage there, but again, that would be another thing that I would have to want to know about from the Giants if I were Russell Wilson. What are they going to do at running back? Are they going to bring back Saquon Barkley? If they don't, do they have another plan? Are they going to go out there and sign one of these other running backs that are out there in free agency? Those are all questions I have to ask if I were someone like a Russell Wilson. So I'm not convinced that he's going to sign with the Giants, But one thing is clear, per the rumors by Rich Eisen, it sounds like when the old saying, when there's smoke, there's fire. And it sounds like the Giants are going to try to do something to fix their quarterback situation moving forward, because you can't have a situation again in 2024 where you have Daniel Jones, who is an injury risk and has proven that consistently, can't stay healthy, was injured twice last year, being solidified as your number one quarterback when you have those kind of questions, and also questions about whether he is even good enough to be your quarterback moving forward. So I could certainly understand those questions, but the Giants did this to themselves in a lot of ways. Spent $160 million on Daniel Jones to put themselves in the spot. Now they're trying to find a way to get out of it. It's going to be very interesting to see how this thing plays out over the next several days and possibly even weeks. Let's just say if by chance the Giants do end up signing a Russell Wilson, my goodness, that creates a whole another form of awkwardness. What do the Giants do with Daniel Jones? Does Daniel Jones end up getting traded? Again, no one's going to want to take on that contract. It would create a more awkward situation than, let's say, the Jets did by bringing in Aaron Rodgers with Zach Wilson. That was under the understanding that Wilson would then try to learn from Rodgers. That's not the case here with Daniel Jones and Russell Wilson. That would be a very awkward situation, to say the least. But we could be in a situation, folks, where we have two big-time quarterbacks playing in the Big Apple at the same time. It could happen very soon with Rodgers and the Jets, maybe even Russell Wilson with the Giants. We'll have to wait and see. So, like and subscribe. Leave your thoughts below how you think this is going to play out. We'll talk to you next time.